Welcome to the 2020 Global Peace Film Festival interviews. My name is Kelly Devine. I'm the artistic director. Please join me and Nina Strike, the executive director, as we welcome Brian Redondo with the film Keep Saray Home. You can find Brian's film on the Global Peace Film Festival website, peacefilmfest.org. The festival begins September 21st and runs through October 4th. Keep Saray Home will be available during the entire festival, so we encourage you to check it out. We also have a full raft of programming that you can find on the Watch tabs and the Event tab, so please do come to the website and see all the offerings. In the meantime, let's start the interview.
Well, welcome, Brian, and you have some special guests with you. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about not just the film, but also the special guests you've brought with you?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me here, and thanks for screening our short documentary, Keep Saray Home. And this documentary is a very personal one. It's about, at its core, is about family and how family can be disrupted by our immigration system here in America, and how it can impact some of the most vulnerable around us. And that immigration system and immigration generally is often a topic, thought about in regards to the Latinx community, and it's thought about in terms of the border, the southern border with Mexico. It's thought about in terms of family separation down there. It's not often thought about in terms of Asian American communities. It's not often thought about how it affects people all the way in the Northeast, out in the Boston area. And it's not thought about in terms of refugees, right? Another group of people who often get overlooked, even though they're an important part of the fabric of American life. And so that's what this film really gets at. And joining us today, I'm very happy to say we have some of the main subjects of the film, Saray himself and his daughter Jassy. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. Well, let me start by asking, what attracted you to opening yourself and being so vulnerable, Saray, to allowing the filmmaker into such an intimate and personal experience?
Well, first of all, it's that I've been living in the shadow, like fearing for myself, being taken away from my family. So when Brian's come along and he asked me to, want to put myself out there, I was debating on, putting myself out there, let the public view and know what's going on in my life. And then I figured if I do that, it would help others, not just me. So, let the world know what's going on behind closed door. So that's why I wanted to share myself and share my story. Yeah.
And Brian, Brian, what attracted you to this particular story? How did you find it?
Well, it's interesting. We created this film together with a couple community organizations out in the Boston area. So that's Asian American Resource Workshop and Greater Boston Legal Services Asian Outreach Unit. And they were both already working with Saray and his family, as well as a number of other families dealing with the looming threat of deportation. And so I connected with one of the lawyers who I had worked with before and, in a past life. And we had actually collaborated on a different short documentary before about undocumented Asian American young people, so-called dreamers. And the dreamers actually, after we made that film, they had said to me, this whole dreamer narrative, is actually kind of politically dangerous because it created a divide. It created two categories of immigrants: the good immigrants, right? The high achieving young people, who were getting special protections, and the so-called bad immigrants, right? Those people that deserve to be deported and, for whatever mistakes that they had made in their life. And so, when I connected with these two organizations and they told me what was going on in the Cambodian community out in Boston, and the Vietnamese community, and how people were getting deported, even though these were refugees of war, and people who had been firmly rooted in those communities for decades and decades. I knew that this was the proper follow-up to that previous film, that we really needed to focus on those communities that are often very overlooked, and whose stories really complicate the common notions around who gets deported, and how criminal justice is dealt with in America. And so I think this film is an intersection of all of those things. And what I also saw was that the community itself was coming together in a way that in a way is kind of unprecedented for them, and coming together to help each other fight this.
Oh, that's evident in the film. And one of the things that really attracted me to curating this particular film, the way that the community rallied around Saray. And Saray, what had that experience been for you and your family?
I mean, when I see people come out to support me, it's like they see a lot, like they don't see my past, they see my present as the community. I've worked around a lot of kids now since, for like 20 something years, and enjoy being around the community, helping with kids, doing this, just doing all the positive things. And I never realized that I see my community come together like that to support me. I thought that they see me as like my past, but when I put myself out there, they I see them come. Like I was in shock. Like they don't see me as I was before. But then when I tell my story, that how I've been for the past 24 years, they all they just stand by me. They just like and I've known a lot of friends that are like staying in the dark. They don't want to come out and stuff, but I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to be the one that brighten everybody's day, or if it works, just hopefully it helps everybody out. Feed everybody. Hopefully they start coming out one by one, or and just like to see that there is hope. That we can do this together with the community.
Well said. Well said. Brian, was there anything as you delved into this story that you learned or that surprised you as you delved a little deeper?
I think it's actually quite a very complicated legal situation that's confronting all the subjects in the film, and there was a lot I had to learn, to be very honest with you. I sort of knew about the situation at a very surface level, but I had to get a better understanding as to the politics and the policies that created this situation. Policies enacted in the 90s that made felonies a deportable offense, learning about how the criminal justice system, when some of these young people, refugees when they were young people, get caught up in the criminal justice system, a lot of them didn't have, not all of them were proficient in English. Not all of them were afforded, language help. Not all of them were afforded legal help. And so they're sort of just dragged through the system, not really knowing what's going on, and then forced to take plea deals, and so, that was another level of background that I had to learn. And then just also sort of the repatriation agreements between the US and Cambodia and Vietnam and Laos. They're all different, right? And ever evolving, especially now during the current Trump administration. Those repatriation agreements are being renegotiated in order to enable the deportation of refugees, right? And so there's a lot of complex systems involved, and so that made it quite a challenge to try to wrap my head around those. But in the film, we really tried to boil it down to what's truly at stake, and for me, that is family. And that said, I also want to shout out the person who just joined us is Tammy, who's also wonderful in the film as well, and wife to Saray and mother to Jassy.
Well, Saray and Tammy and Jesse, what surprised you about opening yourselves up to this kind of experience?
For me, I think that it's easy, right to the top of my head, is the support, like becoming so vulnerable and putting something so dark out in the light. The support that I got from my job was amazing, which is the school that the kids go to, because they could have been like, no, we can't support you, and they chose to, and that helped out a lot, because lots of teachers are powerful, and their letters helped, their stories helped, their phone calls helped. They showed up to rallies, that helped. Emergency court dates, the principal and Javen's teacher went to. So I would say support. I'm gonna go feed my dog.
Thank you.
Your question was, what was the most surprising
Yeah.
about in the film? I think the most surprising part was just having to have those raw conversations, and having it be on screen for everyone to see, because it's this constant experience of knowing that everybody gets to see my family in like a struggle. And as much as it's highlighting the issue and making sure that people are aware of what's actually going on in this country amongst all the other problems, it's very hard and surprising to know like what that experience was going to be like, especially rewatching it with the screening that just happened on, I think it was yesterday, right? I think that was the most surprising part for me, because I didn't realize if I was ready to be like that, because my family has been very much to ourselves, and we solve our own problems and we support each other. But when we felt like we were being broken down and that nobody would, like, we felt like we were helpless and nobody was really there. But like my mom said, and I think Brian has really highlighted it as well in the film, is like how much support and how many people are actually fighting. So there was a lot of different surprises, but I think the real thing was just the raw emotion that was definitely like shown all throughout the film.
Thank you for sharing that, because it is such an intensely personal struggle that you're going through. But just as you were saying, Jesse, the film freezes one aspect of your life, and there are so many other beautiful aspects of your life that people won't have a chance to see necessarily, but they do need to understand this issue. And so we really appreciate you being so generous and open to share your story.
Giving us the opportunity to, I mean,
Brian's like proud of the family.
I know.
Now.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. Well, one of the things that is really at the center of what we try to do at the film festival, with film and with other art forms, is to connect people emotionally to concepts that might be either contentious or difficult to wrap your arms around, just as Brian, as you were saying, all the complexities of this issue, but that family is at the center. And so one of the things we always hope with our films is that the people watching will take away either a model or some kind of inspiration of how to make their world a better place. So Brian, is there anything that you would say to someone thinking about watching this film about what they might expect to take away from this experience?
I really hope that core idea of family really resonates with all people, and I think it can and it should. I think, Saray, Jassy, Tammy, their whole family is an American family, right? It's one that feels familiar, can and should feel familiar to all of us. I related so much to them, and everybody I've shown the film to feels the same way. And I think I want to use that, or I would hope that resonates with people to the point that they can understand why separating families is an inhumane practice, why that is excessive and cruel punishment, right? And that it's only going to further a cycle of problems in some of our communities by doing so, right? That this is not a real solution. This is only creating problems. And then secondly, I hope, that there is a glimmer of hope in this film as well, right? At the end of this particular story, Saray walks out of that building with his whole family. And there's a reason for that. It might not be explicitly stated, but I hope it becomes apparent that people stepped up, right? People held the government accountable, really shined a light on it, put public pressure on the government, and not to take away someone like Saray, who is such a fixture in his community, a role model to all these young people, and the community didn't just let him get taken away, under the cover of night, and so the necessity of people stepping up is something that I hope is communicated to those that see the film.
So for all of you, what's next? And for Brian, how can our audiences support this work?
For me personally, I'm just in the process of getting this film seen. I want it to be viewed by as many people as possible, particularly before the presidential election in November. And so, I'm trying to get it out to schools and community groups and film festivals like yours. I am I'm not actively working on a new film just yet, but I have something lined up also sort of related about certain practices in the prison system. I'll say that much. And hopefully that'll see the light of day next year. And then in terms of people that want to get involved, I encourage you to go to the website, keepsarayhome.com, and you'll see a whole list of resources at the bottom of that website. Particularly, there's a website called searaids.org, which should hopefully link people to other local organizations around the country that are working to stop deportations in the Southeast Asian community. And there's a bunch of other organizations and fact sheets listed on the website, so they can check those out. And Saray and Jassy and Tammy.
What's next?
What's next, guys?
We're our lawyers. So we do have 3 lawyers. We have 2 immigration attorneys and 1 criminal attorney. And I just want to say that our attorneys are badass and all women of color. I love them. And the most recent things that happened after the film is that the DA, we appealed the DA's decision to vacate the charges given post-conviction relief. So the panel of judges approved it. So now we have Zoom court on October 24th. And if the DA chooses not to proceed in retrial and find the witnesses and evidence again, then he will be granted post-conviction relief for a small fee that cost us $5,000 and $350 an hour. So the fees are adding up. And if the DA chooses that, we don't know what they're going to do, then we won, I guess you can say. And then we move forward with getting his green card back and then his citizenship. If the DA chooses to move forward in retrial and like a start over and as if he's been arrested again and being recharged, but now with a greater criminal defense team, we start from square one where it's like he goes to court all over again. I'm hoping that option 1 is the route, but we do have to prepare for option 2. And while all that's going on, we're still trying to just live day by day. He goes to
Yeah.
work.
Go to work 7 days a week now.
Yeah,
Mm.
nursing school,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Jack was trying to,
Yeah, I'm starting a new job Monday.
yeah.
Just,
As a post grad of 2020.
Mhm.
So
it's just a daily living. That's all. Wake up, go to work, you know, a daily
Yeah.
thing, routine.
He's working 7 days a week now because I had to go down to part-time on my job to make it through this semester of nursing school. So it's hard. And then throw in COVID and remote learning, and it's just the perfect disaster.
Mm.
So what you described, Brian, as you said, this is the American family, right? We're all struggling under all of these things, but unfortunately you have this added Kafka-esque struggle that has been laid on top of all of the ordinary things that we're all dealing with right now.
Mhm.
And I really applaud, your pluck through all of this. You guys are, you're really admirable in your, in your, the way that you're just embracing this and looking forward and looking ahead. And I think that's why people who watch this film are really going to be inspired by this story.
I think other than Ricky's, well, we call him Ricky, Saray, other than his immigration thing, like we are your traditional middle-class American family, the students that, do great in school, the mom and dad that work, we have the white picket fence and the dogs, like we have that typical,
American
family.
dream.
Yeah.
The house, the dogs,
But we just got this immigration cloud over our head that we got to get rid of.
Yeah, but still, I mean, for 24 years I've been living under this this cloud, but that would never stop me from helping my family grow. It's never stopped me. Yep.
It's a remarkable story. So thank you so much. And Brian, as you said, one of the keys is also the community stepping up. And so we hope that that's something that comes through for people who watch the film. We really appreciate you all joining us. And for anyone watching, if you want to learn more about Brian Redondo's work, please go to keepsarayhome.com. As he mentioned earlier, you will find there a whole list of organizations that can help you take some action if you're so inspired. If there's a question that you wanted to ask Brian after you watch the film or after you watch this interview, if you go to peacefilmfest.org and our film pages, you'll find a Google form that's called Submit a Filmmaker Question. And there you can file your question, leave your email address and your name, and we'll get those to Brian so that he can contact you with an answer. Remember, the film festival starts September 21st through October 4th. You can see Keep Saray Home with all of our other programs at peacefilmfest.org. Thank you, and we'll see you at the festival.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.